Hey everybody, it's Dr. Dave, Psychiatry. Thanks for coming to the channel today. Today I'm talking about a question that I receive not only in the comment section, but also from patients at various times. Does stress cause panic attacks? And so really what I want to talk about is the difference between what's called a stress reaction and a panic attack. So if you've watched the previous videos on anxiety and panic attacks, you know that what we're talking about chemically is shortage of GABA, gamma aminobutyric acid. And the question that I received in the comments section was specifically about something. For example, does the act of getting on an airplane cause panic attacks, or does that have something to do with GABA, or does maybe the stress cause the GABA to have a problem? And so in that example, the question would be somebody who's obviously wanted to travel, has to buy a plane ticket, go someplace, maybe hasn't flown a lot, and is talking about the possibility of getting in a tube, sitting next to a bunch of strangers, having the door closed, flying at 500 miles an hour at 40,000 feet, and that's a little bit scary. And then the question becomes, if they feel panicky, is that because they have a GABA problem, or does that cause a panic attack, and how do we think about that? Well, the way to think about that is that if something threatening happens to you, then it's sort of normal in the human body for us to be anxious about it and to have what's called a fight or flight reaction, which essentially means if, for example, if someone points a gun at you, it is natural to be scared. Your adrenal glands and all other parts of your body activate, and you want to run away and save yourself, and you're acutely fearful. And that's wanting to run away and save yourself and preserve yourself is a normal reaction. So the fight or flight reaction is normal. And if you're scared of flying, if you don't have a lot of flying experience, if you've seen too many stories about plane crashes and things like that, then the simple act of getting on an airplane can be very threatening. And if that threat causes you anxiety, then that's normal. You're having a normal stress reaction. Now, if you go on to have a full-blown panic attack, it might be that you have breathed yourself into a panic attack. So you can go back and watch that video about the controlled breathing protocol, how to hold your breath when you feel anxious and panicky, and that's something that you can review. But an actual panic attack that happens in the midst of a stressful event like getting on an airplane, technically speaking, the panic attack is not caused by the airplane. It might be prompted by it. So the question would be, if you actually are having panic attacks and not over-breathing, and that's in the midst of a stressful reaction that you know you don't want to have a full-on blown panic attack, well, maybe your GABA is low. And so low GABA, as we already have talked about, and you can review those other videos, but reviewing that right now, if your GABA is very low, then GABA being the chemical that slows down other chemical systems, the fancy word being the inhibitory neurotransmitter. If you're not making enough GABA in your brain, low GABA activity we know can lead to panic attacks. And so the medicines that we use to raise GABA, like Xanax, Valium, Ativan, Klonopin, those tools that boost GABA help people with that condition that's caused by not enough of that chemical, and that typically are panic symptoms. Now, does that mean that the stress caused your GABA to be low? No, we don't believe that. My approach to that is that you inherently have low GABA. That's part of your genetic makeup. That's part of your brain chemistry. And if you are really low on really low on GABA, you're going to have panic attacks out of the blue for no reason whatsoever. What would happen if you were just, say, right on the lower edge of that, right where you needed to be, where you could handle normal stuff, but maybe not handle the higher pressure stuff? Well, then you might be right there. And so that might be a call to maybe change or increase the amount of GABA boost that you're getting, or simply to recognize the fact that when you are in those situations, that it puts more stress on your GABA system. So the idea there is that if you have panic attacks in the absence of any type of stress whatsoever, then yes, your GABA is probably low. If you are having panic attacks in the midst of stress, well, if the stress is something that you ought to be able to handle, then maybe your GABA is borderline. But if you are simply facing something that you don't want to do and your body's reacting, well, that's not called a panic attack. That's called an acute stress reaction. And that's how I feel about maybe jumping out of an airplane. I have no desire to go skydiving. I don't want to jump out of a perfectly good airplane. And so if you made me do that, I guarantee you that my heart would be racing, my eyes would be dilated, and my body would be saying, I don't want to do this. So this is why some people don't fly. Obviously, I want you to be able to do things that you consider to be normal or things that are necessary for you. And in modern society, oftentimes it is necessary to have to fly. So the question about panic attacks getting on an airplane, I hope that's answered. And I hope that you understand the difference between an acute stress reaction and a panic attack and the role that GABA plays in that. So hope that's helpful. Thanks for your questions. Thanks for your comments. Thanks for coming to the channel today. I'm Dr. Dave. Thanks for coming to see me.